we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another episode of the Sit Down at a Purely Arsenal podcast. It's an Arsenal-Everton 4-0 win, post-game review, and I've got regular Neil Shah with me. How are you, Neil?
Oh, mate. Unbelievable. To beat that bloke is great, isn't it?
Brilliant. The gravel drinkers out.
Dish best cold, Jack.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Mikel Arteta has won 1 in 6 against Sean Dyche at Burnley, and of course Everton lost to them last month, which we all remember at Goodison Park in Dyche's first game. And it just felt, going into this game, you're worried, he's just one of those managers that's got his number somehow. You went to the game, Neil, just before we get into it, and the lineup and things like that, though, it was completely unchanged, so we don't need to talk too much about that. How was it with obviously it was a little bit early on, it was a bit subdued and a bit nervy, it felt from me watching it on the TV screen. How was it for you throughout the game? Obviously, second half, it must have been just glorious, but how was the atmosphere? Because it's been a few weeks since you've been back, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's been so difficult to get tickets. So, but the thing is, I booked this one last year. It was rescheduled. It was I had this one. Just an overall for the whole game. I know you always tend to like to look at the first half first, but yeah, despite it being a little bit cagey in the sense that, oh no, here we go again, Goodison 2.0 all over, because I felt that he had employed, we knew he was going to employ the same tactics, which is exactly what he did. We were struggling. I felt that our wingers were being just, two or three of them were on our wingers all the time, because they know that's where the danger lies. I just felt that we were being sucked into their game plan yet again. I thought, why don't we just play our own game? What are we doing? Why are we allowing this to happen? I saw time wasting from them. It was a lot of stop-start play. It wasn't the best to watch. What I will say, though, is our fans were amazing. They were immaculate. It didn't matter what was happening, how frustrating it was. They were behind the team constantly. And the other thing I noticed, Jack, I remember in years gone by, there would only be certain sections of the stadium that would be really up for singing. Now I'm starting to get not starting to get the feeling, it is happening, that everyone is getting involved, which is such a delight to see. Because there were times where I'd be sitting down and I'd start singing and people would give me dirty looks. I'm like, why are you looking at me funny? All right, I know I can't sing, but I'm trying to help the atmosphere here.
I remember those days.
Now everyone's up for it. They watch the ultras, I think, and then they just get buoyed on from there, and they think, why don't we do that? We had a group there was about 7 or 8 lads. I'm literally just a few seats away. They were magnificent. They just kept singing all throughout. Then you got the drums going. It just makes such a wonderful difference. And the fact that even at times where you think, what are we doing? Why are we playing like this? Why are we letting Everton dictate the flow of the game? The fans just didn't stop. And I think that helps massively. And, this thing about us not having a plan B, C, D, or whatever it is, playing one style, I think the fact that a certain left back, which isn't a left back really, was
our free man at left back,
unbelievable, managed to do some unorthodox brilliance, and that was the key to unlocking them. After that first goal, and it just goes to show, just get one goal against them and they just capitulate, because their game plan just falls apart. And it's just that one goal that was needed.
So crucial against these teams.
And that's it. And that's what. And I was just saying to you just before we started recording how unfortunate it was that we just couldn't get that first goal of Goodison, because the same thing would have happened. And it was nice to see, because it showed that we are capable of unlocking teams like this. And what is more important from here, Jack, is going forward, if teams are now going to look at the Everton game, look at the Burnley game, wasn't it, where we only managed to get a point, and they were thinking, yeah, we can do that, we can stifle Arsenal. Now we've managed to beat this kind of team 4-0. Brentford. Yeah, sorry, beg your pardon. Brentford. Now we've managed to beat that kind of play. I think we can employ we can do different things. Plus, the massive thing now is we've literally got a full squad for the run-in as well. So yeah, atmosphere, and then obviously once that goal went in, and then the others followed. Oh, the atmosphere is absolutely banging. I mean, you'll hopefully experience it soon when you manage to go to the Leeds game. It's quite something, Jack. It's quite something.
It's been a long
It's
time
brilliant.
since I've been back, to be
Fabulous
honest.
fun.
I'm excited, especially with everything you're telling me. And you can sense it, but obviously you're so far away that it's great to hear what it's like in the family. Because I'm watching it. I'm at work, but I am very nervous every game. I wasn't over the last few seasons, but for obvious reasons we are. But I mean, I think I want to talk a little bit quite in depth on the Saka goal. Before that, obviously we went unchanged, and Jorginho, by the way, Arteta came out at the end of the game and said he wasn't feeling very well. So I don't want to judge anything too much, but I would say, though I think Jorginho and Xhaka have done really well over the last few games, what I have noticed, and I did feel it in this game, kind of, I think we said in the last pod, this is a game for Partey. They've got Onana, they've got Decore, they've got a couple of other guys in there that are pretty much all about legs and athleticism. And what we'd notice in that first 35, 40 minutes, not that they were dangerous, they didn't really threaten. They had one shot from distance from Mulpai, I think it was. But every now and then when we'd lose the ball, there'd be big holes in midfield that weren't as recoverable as they were when you had the legs of Partey in front of Saliba and Gabriel. And I don't think it's a surprise to any of us, but when you're watching it, you could kind of see that was a change that I was quite happy he made, despite the fact going in at 2-0 up. So I don't think that teaches us anything as such. I mean, I think Jorginho is pretty clear what he is and what his pros and cons are, and we have to be able to protect that a little bit better. I'm not sure quite how we adjust to it. I just think maybe he's made better for certain games. Definitely a fantastic upgrade on what El Neni was in terms of his technical ability and his ability to pass through the lines. But you did see when Partey came on, his ability to just carry the ball at times, and his legs and his ability to move a little bit faster with the ball, just moved our play, sped it up that notch, which made it easy. Obviously, we're 2-0 up at that point, so I don't want to judge too much, but it was nice to see him, look fully fit again as well. But did you have any concerns before we get the Saka? Did you have any concerns beyond that in the first 40 minutes? Because we hadn't had a shot on target. We've been accused of not being able to break down these type of teams before, despite the fact Mikel Arteta is right. We've played against these teams for a large period of the season. Did you have any concerns about it? I don't think I majorly did, but I was definitely tetchy and on edge.
Yeah, I exactly that. It was frustrating to watch. I was thinking, what are they going to get a lucky goal and that's it? We're going to be, staring at another defeat or a draw. So yes, there was moments, 100%, Jack. Because and I think you're right. Just to touch on the Partey thing, I think you're absolutely right. When he came on, yeah, it's difficult. You're right because again, we were 2-0 up. It adds a bit of a different dynamic. We were definitely relaxed as soon as going in at 2-0. You could tell the second half they were so even all the fans. Almost like our shoulders weren't tense anymore. We were just relaxed. We knew we were going to win. It was so. I mean, you can never say anything for certain in football. You can't. But I tell you what, that was goddamn as near as you're going to get. You just knew that they weren't going to come at us, and we had full command. So it's a slightly difficult one to say. But you're right because what I saw about Partey was he had so much control and command to that midfield. It's untrue. It's almost like It's like the perfect glove just slipping onto your hand. It just fits. And he just commanded that midfield. You're right, the gaps completely disappeared for them. And he just looks so big and monumental in that position as well. For me, I got the feeling of comfort with him there, utter comfort. And you're right, he's so athletic. He's a very, very strong lad. I mean, to have him in front of the likes of Saliba and Gabriel, wow! I mean, what a threesome we've got there. 3 powerful blokes, very quick as well.
Exactly.
All
proper athletes.
Just absolutely fantastic, isn't it? So I did have those concerns, but once that goal went in, and oh my god, if I may, I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about it, but Zinchenko first starting to do what he did and beat those 3 players, that in itself was fantastic to watch. But then when he eventually retrieved the ball after a couple of other passes, what I loved about it was his through ball was great, but Saka was asking for the ball. Don't know if you saw that. He literally was like, "Give it to me," because I think he knew he was in a great position. And the fact that it wasn't just the fact of the way of his shot, which was unbelievable. Again, another rocket. What was good about it was the way he turned and protected the ball as well. And it was so quick and so incisive. And that just speaks volumes of the talent of that guy. Absolute. His awareness, his quick thinking. He's got to win. You talked about it last pod, didn't you? He's got to win Player of the Year, Jack.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. I suspect they'll give it to the goal scoring Ivan Drago cyborg over the. But I mean, when you look at it game by game, I mean, you're going to give it to a guy that has 9 touches in a game or something, and I mean, it's just night and day to me. Like this guy's, he's elite. He's I think we've said it on here for a while. He's world class. But I agree with you. The first point of that you make is I mean, Zinchenko's basically at right midfield slot. Do you know what I mean? And it's not abnormal for us to see. We're just like, yeah, give the ball to Zinchenko. You know, it's like that. We used to say things back in the day, like one-man game Nige about Nigel Winterburn, but that was just because he was running a lot. Zinchenko is literally at points running the game. And I'll be honest with you, I watch City a fair amount. I don't ever remember him being this influential for Man City because they weren't starting him every game for starters. Sometimes they weren't even starting him that much. And he is massively influential. I mean, there's an argument to say that he basically took up Odegaard's position there and played it into Saka. Now, Odegaard's also very, very capable. But like you said, what was great about Saka is that left back probably has had a game and a half against Saka at that point, thinking, I've got this guy on toast, right? And he's really annoying, that left back, because he's not actually very good, but he's so physical. He's touch tight. He doesn't let you move. He puts his knee in the back of your leg. And he's really annoying to watch. And you could tell Saka getting a little bit frustrated throughout the half. But the fantastic thing about Bukayo Saka, and I think why he is elite, is you could take the ball off him 3-4 times and it doesn't change anything. He just keeps going. And he knows it's a 90-minute game and one moment can change everything. And that's why he is so good, I think, because other players would get frustrated and they start lashing out and they'd lose their game and they'd lose their heads. But it's such a good ball, but he had so much work to do still, Neil, didn't he? And in 3 touches, it's in the top corner, and Jordan Pickford is still doing his shoelaces up or whatever he was doing. I don't know what he's doing.
So fantastic.
Brilliant.
So and Zinchenko, I'm glad you mentioned him, because actually, Jack, if you think about it, I managed to watch the very short, 2-3 minute highlights. He was involved in 3 of the 4 goals. Zinchenko was.
Yeah.
He was involved in 3. I mean, the third goal was half a team goal, 5 players, and he was one of them. So what a player that we've got there. And he loves the club. He's an Arsenal fan as well. It's just a lovely bonus, isn't it, when you got that?
Yeah, I love him. But I love him mainly because he seems like a really good leader and a decent bloke as well. But he just seems like he's such a good footballer. He's just so good on the ball. And his ability to be able to crop up in these spaces is amazing. And Gabriel and Saliba allow him to do that, really. They do to a degree, because they're comfortable going one-on-one against, the strikers that they're falling for. I mean, before that, I think that we should probably just briefly mention, I definitely didn't have any issue with the ref today. If anything, we should applaud him for the second goal. But there's got to be something done about the time wasting for feigning head injuries. I just think it's ridiculous. I thought Onana was a disgrace in that first 30 minutes. He went down 3 times, maybe 4, and I'm not even sure anyone connected with his head more than once. And when they did, we all knew it was a brush and there was no problem. Even the ref became wise to it after the 3rd or 4th one. But if everyone's going to get a free kick and launch the ball into the box and the defenders are just going to drop to the floor instantly, the ref's got to get wise to it. And if people are dropping to the floor feigning head injuries, I think you've got to sub them out briefly. You say you got to go off the pitch for at least the next until the ball goes out again or something. So because it's just not. It's not fair. It doesn't make any sense. It slows the game down, and no one wants to see that either. It's not good for the game. Just an Arsenal perspective, is it?
No, I think you're right. I mean, it's the boy cried wolf, because you get that syndrome, because that's really not a nice thing to do with your head, because a lot of people have suffered.
Exactly.
severe consequences from head injuries. And you don't feign stuff like that. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you go down, you might feign a little kick to the leg or something. Fair enough. But a head injury, that's different. That could be a life-changing event for someone.
Yeah.
And to feign it, I think that's absolutely disgusting. Because if it happens to someone for real, and after the referees might get to see someone like this guy Onana feigning it. One day they might think, "Oh, sod it, there's no problem there." We won't. I'm sure it won't happen because I think they've got to follow the protocol each time now. But just can you imagine if one time they'll think, "Nah, he's feigning it."
Yeah, based off of all of this,
and it's a real injury, and then something detrimental happens to that person afterwards. Sorry, that's disgusting. They should, the way the FA looks at severe fouls now, aftermath, and maybe reprimands a player if the referee's missed it. I think the same should be done about something like this as well. Say, hang on a minute, you suspend you for a couple of games. That's not right. That's bollocks.
Exactly.
Sorry to swear, but that's annoying.
It's true. It's like when they VAR a pen or they VAR something, and it's clearly the opposite of what they thought it was, and it's a complete dive, but they never end up punishing the dive. They just go no pen, and they need to punish the feigning of injuries or the diving, and I don't think they do that enough when they're evaluating a VAR decision like that, which they're basically evaluating to see if they should book or red card the person that came into contact. They should be looking at the exact opposite of that, and whether the player's feigning it, because that's the same. It's just as culpable, if not worse, right? Because you're cheating against the game. So I just was watching it and I was like, this is not good for the game. But again, it was all to try to build our frustration. They were time wasting when the goalkeeper got the ball. They were doing it from the first minute. They were doing it, and it's crazy to think that teams are doing it. I don't know if I remember teams doing it this early, but in the first half, and things don't help. Like the 6-second rule's gone away. Basically, I don't know why it's gone away, and all that just slows the game down. And I think that caused us not to be able to get into our rhythm as well. But I think our passing wasn't quite as sharp, and they did look a little dangerous when Onana and Doucouré were galloping through the midfield against Jorginho and Xhaka. You're like, yeah, they definitely got the legs on them, kind of thing. But Saka's 10th goal in the Premier League. This game brought up the first team to have 2 players hitting double figures for goals. We also have Odegaard on 9 goals now, so he's very close to being a 3rd player on double figures for goals. We have 3 players in the top 10 goal list in the current Premier League. Obviously, Haaland's top. You've got the likes of Kane and Rashford in there, but you've got Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard in that top 10 as well. So, Neil, I mean, that's really important. And when we've always had our best teams, I know we've had Henry scoring goals galore, but we've always really got goals from everywhere when we've had our best teams as well, haven't we? Even if we did have Henry getting 30 plus, we always had 15 from Pires and 15 by Lundberg, didn't we? We were never really a 1-goal team. And if we were, like with Van Persie, we were never as successful, I've found, personally. So I think it's a good thing when this is happening, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I think we're all crying out for high goal scorers. I know why can't we have someone who scores the late teens or the early 20s or 20 mid-20s even? But if you've got a team capable of producing 3, 4, 5 players getting into double figures, that's enough. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not fussed about getting one of our players getting the gold or blue. It's nice, of course it is. It's a bonus, but I'm sorry. If you're Harry Kane, you're content with that, and that's all you're content with after, being Mr. England star boy. I mean, sorry, then you've got to look at your ambitions, son, because that's pathetic, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel that it's more important that we play as a team and we have a system where you've got an outlet of many players that can potentially score some goals, because you need that. Because every great striker, Jack, this has been apparent in years gone by, tend to have a bad patch as well. They dry up. And if you're only relying on that one person, then what have you got? You've got nothing. But at least with us, we've got the capability of others scoring. And look, even in our blip, Saka, Martinelli and Eddie dried up, didn't they? Our front three kind of dried up a little bit. But now, we've got Martinelli back on 2. Saka scored as well. Odegaard chips in. It's great to see that we've got different outlets. So important, especially for the way we play, I think, and bringing other players in. You've got potentially that Martinelli Trossard partnership where they're both interchanging in game. I think it's a wonderful thing to see. And to be honest, Trossard's been robbed of a goal anyway. Perfectly good goal. So
yeah, and he was lively again, wasn't he? And
yeah, I love him. I really like him.
With that, I think I don't want to take the full credit for it, but I think a guy called Tim Stillman on another podcast mentioned that if Trossard can get the best out of Martinelli like Jesus used to, then Eddie will find it difficult to get back in the team, because there wasn't really, Martinelli was clearly not quite linking as well there, and Jesus obviously filters out left, Odegaard and Saka on the right, and it was kind of like a nice balance. But Eddie kind of stays a bit more central. He doesn't shift side to side as much. But Trossard clearly, because he plays left attacking mid more than anywhere else in his career, has this ability to just filter out left, like we saw against Leicester, where they basically exchanged positions. We saw it a lot again in this game. I think Trossard created the third goal for Odegaard, and he was from the left position. It's a nice link up. I think the only thing you lose there, Neil, is probably a little bit of physicality, a little bit aerially. But we don't want to play the balls like that anyway. We're not going to do that, right? So it's an interesting one. I'm starting to look at it and wonder if this is our new Plan B option.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it means for Eddie. It might be, but it looks quite interesting, doesn't it?
Look, I want the best for every player. I mean, I know, again, we've said it many times, James has championed and advocated Eddie from the start, and quite rightly so, because he's done some good stuff. He's, thinking about it, Jesus has been out for a while, and we're still 5 points clear at the top. So, and Eddie's been part and parcel of that. And Eddie's been part and parcel of that. We can't say he hasn't. But I just feel that he just hasn't got that's something extra that we need for the way Arteta plays. And that's the irony, because Arteta absolutely loves him. It is a strange one. It is a bit of a conundrum. And I'm not saying Eddie's days are numbered because of Trossard. And, there's a good chance we're going to buy a striker in the summer as well. I mean, let's see what happens. But I just feel that we look more of a threat with this system. And then when Jesus comes back, more of a threat with that system. Not necessarily because Jesus bangs them in, as we just spoke about other players scoring, but because of what he offers elsewhere and how he absolutely constantly bamboozles that defence. They just don't know what to do, who to mark, where to mark, because we're just constantly moving all over the place at the front. And I think it's really, really cute, and it's a good thing. It's good that you touched on the aerial thing. That was, I forgot to mention when you talked about what frustrated you earlier. That was one thing when we were trying the aerial attacks. They just don't work against these types of sides. That's where if there's any Achilles heel that we do have, it's probably that. Keep the ball to the floor. Quick passing to feet is a surer, better way to unlock these teams. The aerial crosses, like through the middle, doesn't work. Maybe 1 in 10, which isn't enough.
I agree.
But yeah. Definitely agree on that, Eddie.
I agree, yeah, and I think Trossard was lively again. And Eddie did well when he came on. I think he had an assist for the final goal for Martinelli, which was good to see. And you want to see that. And I think he'll play. We've got 2 games a week coming. I don't have concerns that he's going to play, but this just looks like another option. And Trossard looks like a very shrewd purchase because he's able to filter in multiple positions, which is why Mikel Arteta, a big part of the reason I'm sure he looked to him to sign him in January. So it looks like a really shrewd deal. But yeah, what was the irony about the second goal was that they're time wasting constantly, and it's almost the exact opposite. And Martinelli's like, it kind of looked like they were just sort of slowing the ball, and he didn't know what to do, that midfielder. And just again, such intelligence from Saka to just keep playing to the whistle, because there wasn't a foul, there was no issue. Odegaard had fallen down. I don't know why the Everton player stopped playing, but we didn't, Saka didn't, and Martinelli didn't. And it was a great decision in the end by the ref, wasn't it? Because, I mean, it was the correct decision, but, it's an interesting moment because you're like, is he offside, is he not? But he's directly behind the ball. So he's onside, and it's an assist from Saka, and it's a nice finish from Martinelli. But it was a clever little goal, and it was a really good timing for the goal, wasn't it? Right after the first, going at half-time with the 2-0 up. It was fantastic, wasn't it?
Even if it stayed at 1-0, that would have been great because it was just before half-time. Yeah. But that was a bonus. To be honest, us in the stadium didn't know what happened because we only see it once live, and that's it. And we saw 2 players. So I thought, seeing our two players fall to the floor, I thought it was a double foul that wasn't given. And all of a sudden, Martinelli puts the ball in the net, and we're all just looking at each other, what's going on? Yeah, he can't be giving that. Something's going to go wrong. And then obviously, as we have been on the wrong side of it so many times, every one of the guys going, oh, here we go again. And all of a sudden, it's given, and everyone's like, it was like a delay in the celebration because no one could quite believe it. And then all of a sudden, the crowd just goes absolutely mental. But, oh, what a time for the goal. But you know what? That is great awareness by Saka because he didn't give up and he didn't stop. But also the finish was spot on as well. It was a great finish. And that's what Martinelli can do. He really can. That's why I've always thought he could be such a great, great striker for us.
Yeah.
But,
well, you might be looking at that. This is the closest I feel we might be getting to that, like in the sense that he's just cropping up in central positions, right? And I think if you ask Mikel Arteta, I'm sure he doesn't really want to stick them to one position. I also think it's quite interesting that he's chosen to bring Trossard in centrally now when Jesus is almost back in full training. I'm starting to think, is that sort of a transitional step for the team to basically, because Eddie is quite different in the way that he plays to Jesus, but Trossard actually is quite similar, I think, in terms of his positional areas. So I just wondered if that's like, okay, Jesus about 10 days away here, 2 weeks, let's start trying to transition. But it's not easy to get that central position to work with a new player, certainly not in the season when under big pressure moments and games like this. So credit to Arteta and Trossard and Martinelli for making it look pretty functional and work pretty well, Just early phase of the game, we struggled a little bit to create, but again, it's very difficult against two banks of four, or basically two banks of five, but this team is just, they don't go anywhere, do they? Which was tricky. But we went in halftime 2-0. He doesn't usually make halftime changes, but he did, probably because Jorginho had a little issue, wasn't feeling 100%. But it was good to see Partey get 45 minutes. And I thought, unlike at Everton, where I felt Onana and Decore kind of, helped run their midfield, I felt Partey really handled them both really well, especially Onana. He was just not having any of it, and he made sure he didn't get really a sniff at all in the second half. But it just pushed our play up, Neil. It just pushed our play, but it sped us up a little bit. And it was really free-flowing football in the second half. We racked up 15 shots in total, but most of those were in the second half, weren't they? And it was a pretty... it was just fantastic to see us do that to a Sean Dyche team, to be honest. I hope they go down because I don't like him as a manager and I hate the football they play. And they've got some horrible players as well, Mulpie and people like that, just morons. So just I've got quite like, even though I respected Everton as a club, I'd quite like them to go down the way they are at the moment because I don't need managers like that in the league. They're a nightmare, aren't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a shame because Everton is one of those clubs with history. We talk about certain teams in buying success and whatnot, but they're one of the few that are the old school and right from the beginning. So it is a bit of a shame, but you're right. And the football, especially under him with him in charge, they're better off in the Championship. Sorry,
massively.
So with all due respect to their fans, Jesus Christ, it's just not pretty to watch, is it? And he's going to make them worse. That's the thing. He's going to make them absolutely horrible to watch.
He'll probably keep them up, but
he probably will. Last day of the season, you just watch. But I think, you're right. The second half was a completely different story. It was just so nice, and it's comforting as a fan because us Arsenal fans go through it a lot. Our team puts us through so much up and downs with our heart. And it's like, we do always tend to do it the hard way. So it was lovely to see just 45 minutes where we were just in complete control and we just knew the outcome of the result of the game and we knew we got the 3 points. And it was nice to see some great football. And Odegaard, again, he started doing some amazing stuff, especially in the second half. Some of his passes and his vision is, mate. Oh, there was one I think he did and it didn't come to anything, but what a pass it was. And I just everything about the guy is just great, isn't he?
Yeah, exudes class. He's brilliant. And you want him to. It's harder for him. You could tell in the first half he was being closed down so quickly, and he couldn't get that little half a yard of space. And you want him to be able to do it in those shorter, tighter spaces. But he deserved his goal. Another guy that's on the cusp of double figures, which is huge for a player like that who's not really known for getting a lot of goals. I wouldn't say, and he's chipped in with 9 goals and something like 6 assists already this season. So he's right there with Saka. He's been fantastically consistent, I think, throughout the season. Another clean sheet, Neil. which is important, you know. I mean, they had a couple of chances. I think they had one from McNeil in the second half, but basically we kept them to minimal amount of chances. I don't know what the XG expected goal was, but it was pretty minimal. Their shots were from distance. I don't really remember a clear-cut chance for them. But for Ramsdale, Gabriel, Saliba, I think that's really important, right? We've come off a few games that are topsy-turvy games, you know, huge emotions, huge pressure. It's nice to have a couple of settled games, isn't it, where you feel pretty assured about your overall performance and your defensive back line doesn't look like it's squeaking at all.
No, absolutely. I think, wasn't it before we had our blip? Didn't we have the second best defensive record? Only Newcastle had a better defensive, something like that, wasn't it?
And I think we might be back there now, Neil. I think
Oh,
we might be
wow.
back there
Okay.
now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Newcastle don't concede, but that's because they haven't left their 18-yard box in about 3 months. But so that I don't know if we can judge it against them.
Love that.
It's like Chelsea. Chelsea have only conceded 2 more than us, but again they don't attack. But yeah, we have Newcastle have only conceded 15 all season, but we are the second team with only
right.
23. We've conceded 23.
Wow. Okay.
And City have conceded 25. Yeah, so we have the second best defense in
the second best. Oh,
still the second best. Yeah, and then obviously City have scored the most, and we've scored 8 less than them with 56 goals. But you kind of expect that. But it was nice to push the goal difference a little bit, draw that down. 100%. But the clean sheet was really nice as well. They almost right at the end had a goal which we kind of cleared off the line. I think at the end. So, and I bet Ramsdale was super happy to keep that clean sheet.
Oh, so because he gets really upset with himself, doesn't he, if he lets a goal in?
Yeah,
I've seen it in the documentary.
You want those standards.
And I'm pretty sure nothing's changed since then. Obviously, we don't get to see what happens in the dressing room anymore. That's where that documentary I thought was quite insightful. And we were seeing the reactions to the players post game, and he used to get really livid. Even if we'd won, he was upset if they'd scored a goal or we'd conceded. So for him, it's a great boost, and of course for the defenders as well, because that's what their job is. Their job is to defend and to help the goalkeeper keep these clean sheets. I think that's huge going into what is now the business end of the season. If we can keep the goals to them against us to the minimum, that's the mathematics for you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That means the high percentage of wins then for the remaining games.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like Partey being there helps as well, I think. But it was very, very comfortable game at Leicester, and this felt majority really the same. They had a couple more chances than Leicester, but I think overall it was a really comfortable performance and one that we deserved to win quite comfortably. Martinelli's finish was nice as well at the end from Eddie. The second 2 goals were really good team goals, really right work down the left. Very, very good team goals. What do you think of our subs that came on, Neil? We had Fabio Vieira come on, Tierney came on, seemed to play the inverted role a little bit more. I don't know if it never looks natural for him, but he was definitely trying to play the inverted role a little bit more. And Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe, do you see any of those getting some starting minutes in the next few weeks? Do you think?
Yes, because we've got Europa.
Yeah, it would be nice to see. I don't know how he works the old Smith Rowe and Vieira thing in, because we're not really sure of either of their positions at this point. But it will be very interesting to see how strong he goes at Sporting, because they are probably, on paper, they're probably still one of the strongest teams left in the competition, to be honest. They dropped down from the Champions League. They've got some good players. I wonder how strong he goes in that. But I think Vieira looks very fit. He looks like he's ready to have a start. I hope he starts on Saturday, personally. I'd probably give Xhaka a break. He just needs a break, I think.
I think so.
Great. Yeah.
I think.
So, yeah, I mean, mate, it was 4-0. Very, very comfortable. There's not a lot to complain about. Not a lot to argue about, question, really. I thought he made his subs pretty well. It was nice to be able to rotate the players out a little bit, which is a real big bonus from these
Quickly
games.
on that, Jack, I've got a quick question for you, right? If we carry on winning before Jesus returns, does he get straight back in the team when he's fit?
Yeah, I think he does, but I don't know if he'll be eased in. I think he does. Okay. Yeah, I think he does. Do you know what? I keep watching Trossard, and I think I wouldn't rule him out for the left 8 switcher up. Right, I think he's got so many options. He's just a tidy footballer. I think he's multifaceted. He could be in a lot of positions. But I do think when Jesus is fit, I think he'll be eased in to start with. Maybe play 30 minutes here and there. But I think when he's fully fit, I
That's
think
fair.
he's
I just wanted to
transformational,
confirm
really.
my own inner thoughts, but yeah, okay.
You thought the same?
Mm.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
too valuable for me.
yeah.
He is
I
too
think
valuable
so.
for me. And I think, again, with all due respect to who we've got at the moment, because I think, I mean, they're great. All of them are great. I think he'll be quite important when we face City again as well.
Yes.
I know that's a long way to look ahead. I know, and we've got to take each game as it comes. But I think he'll be key for that.
Yeah, we did a
Because I
party
think
or
when
him
we
for
played them, we
Burnley.
did we have Zinchenko for the when we
We
played?
did, but we didn't have party and we didn't have Jesus.
That's right. There you go. And I think that would be huge. That could end up being that could end up being the game.
Yeah, because we have a harder running, but it is amazing to think. I mean, I've got fans from all sorts, just telling me, if this happens, you can't lose it from here and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, let's talk about how you're sitting in 8th or 10th if you're a Liverpool Chelsea fan. But it's quite funny. But we were 5 points clear before, and I think you would have snapped some if once you found out Jesus was injured, you would have snapped anyone's hand off to be 5 points clear still at this point in time. I mean, that's a long period of time, and we're still going with it to be without your top striker. And other fans will come back with, "Oh, we didn't score in this amount of games," and I was like, "Yeah, you didn't watch us because he was transformational for us. He was arguably one of our players of the season at that point when he got injured. Like, it's not questionable. You don't have to look at the goals; just look at what he brings to the team and ask the players. Amazing." Yeah. So it'll be a real big boost to get him back. And they say before the international break, so I'm expecting maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to see him as part of it. Maybe for that home Europa League leg. That's what I'm sort of picturing in my
That's what I'm thinking.
mind, maybe getting him off the bench or something like that. So, but a great win, a great 4-0 win, boosts our goal difference a little bit. I did have one question. The season in 1998,
that's what you'd forgotten.
I almost forgot. We also won 4-0 to win the league. Tony Adams running through the midfield. Can you believe you remember the commentary? Of course.
Yeah.
Who scored the other 3 goals?
Oh, come on, Jack.
I'll give you a hint.
Overmars
Tony,
was one.
Okay. I'll give you. I'll let you off with it. You'll never get the others, but Overmars got a brace.
Right.
The other one is an own goal.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm not sure if, for some reason in my head, I picture Petit hitting it and it going off this player, but I can't actually picture the goal. I can picture both of Overmars' goals, surprisingly, but the own goal, I can't. I think it's Petit onto this player, but it might not be. It could be Adams as well. It's from like a corner. I remember it. I'll give you. Well, it's actually I can't give you a hint. Yeah, Everton player, also played for West Ham, also managed West Ham as well.
Oh my goodness! No, go on, tell me.
Slaven Bilic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the own goal, 4-0. That was my question. Yeah. Linking it to, big seasons, plus it was a 4-0. So,
there's it's something in that.
There's something in it. I tell you, it's in the stars. Fingers crossed. But
and our captains both scored in both of those.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Good point. Yeah. Left
set up
winger,
by defenders.
Left winger scored 2.
I know. Yeah. Set up by defenders. I mean, Zinchenko's not really a defender, is he?
Yeah, but it's close enough on paper. Yeah, brilliant. Oh gosh, that was a great day as well, wasn't it? The Everton 4-0 against them.
God, I'll never forget that.
Fantastic. Yeah,
I was in a pub watching it, and I ran out. Those were my pub drinking days, Jack, and I just ran outside, and I was literally the only person to run out, and I didn't care. And I was in all my garb as well, as I used to wear the jogger bottoms and the whole lot scarf, and I was going absolutely mental, making an absolute fool of myself. But I didn't care because what a wonderful. And then we went on to win the double as well.
Oh yeah, of course, Newcastle.
Fabulous. That
was a great season. And Wenger's first full season, unbelievable.
Anelka was great when he as well. He was brilliant.
He was fantastic. Yeah, that season. Shame he didn't stay really. But
what a shame.
Yeah, could have had a better mindset. But Neil, before we go, we got Bournemouth on Saturday, 3 p.m. game. Obviously, they're struggling at the bottom, but we've seen against teams struggling at the bottom, it can be tricky. What changes do you expect, if any? Played the same lineup this time. I expect some changes. I expect Tommy and Vieira are my two most likely changes. I'm not sure, maybe 1 or 2 more, but I don't think he doesn't seem to change as many as we think in most games. So I feel like Party, I expect probably to come in.
Party, Tommy, Tommy will come in.
He might use Eddie, but I'm not sure. I feel like he might save Eddie for the Europa League game, maybe.
I think Eddie's Europa, Jack, 100%.
Yeah, I think so. I think might keep Trossard because he sees some rhythm and what's coming out of Martinelli is fantastic. I think from
Look,
the few games.
Arguably on paper, it's a win. It's a win, but you can never say anything with football. You just can't. So I think he's still got to go with the strongest. And at the moment, those front three are doing it for us. So I don't think you can change that. Again, with all due respect to Eddie, sorry, James, I know he's your man, but we've got to stick to it. We've got to stick to it. If we'd struggled, well, for me now last night, maybe for you as well, if we'd struggled, then I'd be a tiny bit concerned because those kind of teams, again, they'll watch it again. They'll think, oh, Everton's done it twice to them.
Yeah.
But now, after seeing the teams have seen that, wow, they've unlocked that team and they've actually destroyed them. I can't see anything but a win, Jack.
What's your score on your first score?
I'm hoping for another one to help ease the goal difference. I don't think the goal difference is going to matter. I think we're going to win it on points anyway, but you never know. So let's if when we get the opportunity to do so, let's try and eat away at that goal difference. I'm going to go for another 4-0, back-to-back 4-0s.
Wowza.
I'm going to go with Martinelli again to score.
Nice.
I was quite pleased actually at half-time, Jack, because I think on the pod I predicted 2-0 Saka scoring first. I thought, stay like this. I thought,
did you?
We got to score. Yeah,
I think I predicted
we got to score
3-1. But I think I did. I was saying Saka first. Yeah,
you said Saka first.
We got that. We got that.
Yeah, we got that right. But I think Martinelli. Martinelli. But I want to see Trossard get on the score sheet games. He deserves a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I'll go a bit more modest, but hopefully a win. I'll go 2-0 Arsenal. And I'll go first goal scorer, Odegaard. I'll go Odegaard.
Yeah,
see if we can get.
I know you love him.
Fantastic to have 3 on double figures going into the last sort of, 12, 13 games of the league. It'd be fantastic.
Who have City got?
They've got Newcastle at home. Now it would be tricky, but they're on a terrible run, and they've got Karius in goal, not their Nick Pope. I think he's still suspended. So you never know. But, I'm not holding out much hope. I hope they play them
Forest to get a point, did we?
No,
we didn't expect Forest to get a point, and they did.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Never know.
That's true. Got to keep our fingers crossed.
And nice to see Spurs knocked out of the cup.
That was hilarious. They would have got Blackburn at home in the next round if they weren't knocked out. Blackburn at home, it was completely open for them. They could have pretty much walked through to the semi-finals and the final. I think a few big teams left in it, but this was
City and United left now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite. That's what I'm saying. There was quite an open draw.
Jeez.
So City, United, yeah, you're right. Everyone else is out. So I tell you, but I hope. I don't really hope City and United go to the final, but I hope they go, as late as the semi-finals, and because we want United to tire out with all the competitions they're in. That's what we want. Fingers crossed. But
and like you said, Man City to the Champions League final, that'd be perfect.
Yeah. Keep them in it as long as possible. Absolutely. Want all their distractions everywhere. But Neil, we're 5 points clear. Let's hope that we can, at the very least, keep that or extend it, but just win on Saturday. That's all we got to do, just win on Saturday. So that's massive. We are on @PurelyArsenalFP on Twitter, Purely Arsenal on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We are on all the other apps as well, but our pod releases first on YouTube, I believe, and then it comes out on the other apps a few hours later. So obviously you can't wait for that. So you're going to want to subscribe to our YouTube page. We appreciate it. Neil, thank you so much. I know we're both a little under the weather, but it was good to get a little chat in before the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
Up the Arsenal, mate. Keep the faith.